Dump the kids on Granny while you enjoy a city break in Barcelona, Lisbon or Rome.
A mix of clear spells and scattered showers tonight. Lows of 9 to 13 degrees with a bright start to Friday. Now you're up to date on News Talk.
The Newsround on Off the Ball. This is News Talk.
Welcome along. It is Thursday nights Off the Ball. Nathan Murphy is at the Padraig Harrington Putting Green currently, so it's Will Whitby between now and 10 p.m. We've got a really good show ahead. We're going to be talking to the 2013 Footballer of the Year, Michael Darragh Macaulay, a man who sits on 8 All-Ireland medals. Some of his former teammates could potentially go to 9 if Dublin were to overcome Kerry in Sunday's All-Ireland football final. Martin Lipton will join us to talk about Jordan Henderson completing his move to Saudi Arabia. He has faced plenty of criticism about that today. Could Harry Kane be on his way to the Bundesliga to pay for Bayern Munich? Martin will be with us after 8 o'clock. Gregor Paul is going to join us from Melbourne, where by his own admission there's not a lot of excitement in Australia about their game against the All Blacks in the Rugby Championship this weekend. The Wallabies haven't won the Bledisloe Cup now for 20 years. He's going to be with us after 9, and the great John Giles is with us later this hour to talk about the passing of Trevor Francis, who was laid to rest today, the first ever £1 million footballer, and he'll be talking Kylian Mbappe running down his contract at Paris Saint-Germain as well. Delighted to say Arthur O'Dea is here. How are you, Arthur?
Not so bad, Will. How are you?
And we've got Anne-Marie here as well.
Hi, Will.
Arthur, it is a time when we start to look forward to the All-Ireland football final. The hype is starting to just kind of crank up a little bit. But is this one of these games, and I'm sure for those who are watching the football live in Croke Park currently are probably thinking, it's about hype time this stage of the week. It's such an easy sell, Dublin and Kerry.
Oh yeah. There's really nothing you need to do. It's one of the, you're not even, there's no question whatsoever will you watch it or not. You will watch it. You'll have to watch it. It'll be everywhere. It'll be next week. It'll kind of dictate, depends on what happens. But whilst familiarity, sometimes you would like maybe something a little different. I'd like something a little different, but at the same time it's like, well, I'm not watching it. It's still captivating. It's still the two absolute heavyweights going at it again, even if they are, I think they have something like a share between them about half the All-Ireland's ever won. Mm-hmm. 2 counties. That's a bit bleak, but I mean, I suppose it's good for a reason. But it'll be class, but familiar, but class.
Yeah, so but their meetings, Emery, have been so meaningful. We talked to Michael Darragh about this, and he remembers the Cluxton point and how significant that was. The great semi-final in 2013, Kerry getting over by a point last year, and the iconic image of Sean O'Shea converting that free, which would eventually lead to Kerry winning the All-Ireland final. Generally, when Kerry and Dublin have met, even in recent years, the 6-in-a-row game, let's be fair, they haven't been dull.
Yeah, it's the rivalry that we all love. It's the glamorous one, but it feels like this one, even more so than previous years, there's more subplots to it. The fact that it's probably this last hurrah for an awful lot of these Dublin players that were on that great team, and this is Kerry on the cusp of possible dominance. So if they were to stop Dublin of having their last good day out, it'd be a huge scalp for them. But then if Dublin were to stop Kerry from doing the 2 in a row, Jack O'Connor as well, remember, has never retained the All-Ireland. There's another plot there. It's set up to be just massive, like blockbuster. I'm buzzing for it. I can't wait. And we'll hear from Korma Costello now in a few minutes, talking about Stephen Cluxton coming back in and what he brings to the setup and what he demands from players just in the standards that he sets. And I don't think it's a coincidence that Dublin are back into the All-Ireland after 3 years. It's mad to think that it's 3 years since they've been there, that they're back in when Stephen Cluxton comes back. That's the kind of figure he is. What's he going to bring to things on Sunday? I can't wait for it. I think, Dublin and Kerry, when they meet, it's generally there isn't much between them. I think there generally will only be a kick of the ball between them on Sunday.
I will hold my hands up, Arthur, and I will say, when I heard Paddy Andrews and Joe had a conversation, Joe in this very seat back before the Loud game, going, Stephen Cluxton's out there and he's wearing the 16 shirt. I thought this sounds like some kind of last desperate roll of the dice, bringing back all the old heads again. And then as the summer has gone on, this Dublin team has become more and more recognisable compared to the dominant team of old.
Yeah, I suppose I distinctly remember, when, so it must have been in this winter of 2012, yeah. So when Man United brought Paul Scholes back, and I think that was it. Did they win the league? Yeah, they won the league that year. Yeah. So that was, or whatever it was, and then it was kind of called as well a desperate move. and Ferguson's kind of like he's class. How could this be desperate? But I don't necessarily think they're mutually exclusive. I don't know if Dublin would be there if he's not there, because we don't there's all those intangibles in terms of and the same thing you will talk about tomorrow in Lipton later with Jordan Henderson at Liverpool, where it's you can't really measure what they're doing off the pitch. So I don't when he comes in and who was it speaking? Was it Brian Howard speaking during the week about how he just turned up? He was just there again. It's even that. It's just it's fair because he has the stature he has and because he's the player he's been. And again, as you're saying, he could have 9 All-Ireland medals on Sunday evening. There must be something in that when he comes back in that makes everyone raise their game a little bit. That just the seriousness levels goes up, because presumably you don't want to disappoint him and his standards, and he sets a bar and then it's I better reach it. So it's it is. I don't think that necessarily means it's not desperate, because it's not a long-term solution, but I don't think there's anything desperate about him, if you know what I mean. He seems to be at such a level that it's a no-brainer to have him there.
Part of me genuinely thought it would be a little bit of a distraction. There was so much furore and hype around it. I thought it might be perhaps a negative in the setup. And then I remember Malachy Clerkin had a brilliant piece just around the time of it about his crankiness, Cluxton's crankiness, and what that'll bring to the setup. And that kind of turned my mind a little bit. And I think it's clear to see their standards have improved since he has come in. They are where they weren't for the last 2 years. So I think, his crankiness, what he demands of players, even just by his presence, you don't want to let him down, because he represents so much of what the county has done over the last decade. I think it's massive what he's brought back in. And I'll admit, I was sceptical. I thought this could cause a little bit of distraction around the camp, but I was wrong.
I also think as well, Emery, the Kerry Mafia are going to be quite happy at the moment. They're coming in as All-Ireland champions, and the talk is about Dublin for the best part coming into that.
Isn't it mad that Kerry are rightly the All-Ireland champions, but Dublin just have all the experience in these big games? That's bizarre. That's mad to think. And I know Kerry obviously won last year and they beat Galway, but it wasn't really a battle of an All-Ireland. And I say that as somebody from Galway. Kerry just had too much for Galway. But Dublin have been in those massive battles. When you think about the finals against Mayo, the 2019 final against Kerry when it went to a replay, and the final and the 2019 final. So they've been in those massive battles that they've come out just on the right side of, usually by a point or two. And I think that will stand to them perhaps a little bit more than how Kerry come into the game. They've been there and they have the experience. I know Kerry did it last year, but they didn't have to dig deep and find a way.
It's going to be an intriguing final on Sunday. I can't wait for it. I think you've set it up very nicely. Michael Dermacawley will join us. He'll be talking about football and a bit more besides, including how his Wikipedia page has been out of date for at least a year now. This is claiming that he lives in Sri Lanka. He's been living in Sri Lanka since his Lair Kagale came out.
You don't know if he doesn't. He's on a Zoom call. He's not here.
I don't know now. I'm willing to trust the man. But he also revealed to us as well that Stephen Cluxton is still in the active Dublin WhatsApp group and the retired players WhatsApp group.
Oh, that's interesting, yeah.
Now, Michael Dermacawley claims he's the admin of the group and he's going to kick him out later on, so we shall see what happens. I have a feeling Stephen Cluxton gets to keep 1 foot in each camp and he's fine.
If they win, is this definitely Cluxton's last year?
I wouldn't say
I wouldn't rule anything out.
There's definitely a lure for 10.
Yeah.
10's a lovely round.
10's not getting beaten for a long time.
No. Not even by, and that's the thing, you're shedding your teammates who have left on 8 and potentially left on 9 at that point too. And a goalkeeper can probably stay around a bit longer, but I look at James McCarthy at the moment, Emery, and I don't think he's going to stop anytime soon.
I'm not sure, and it's very presumably, I don't know. Obviously, McCaffrey is a good bit younger.
I think McCaffrey and Mannion came back in for this year, and it was kind of on that condition. I don't think they're back for the long term. But McCarthy, you could see another couple of years in him. There was, in that Mayo game, the quarter-final, when he played absolutely out of his skin, you just think to yourself, how is he doing this at 33 years of age with 8 All-Irelands in his pocket? And the game was over and he making these brilliant blistering runs, and you're just thinking, where is he getting the energy, where is he getting the motivation? So there's still plenty left in that tank. Now, he has said, he's been out during the week doing media, that there's more years behind him than ahead of him. but I don't think he'll step away too easily. He might go for another
We're all
couple.
in that position now if McCarthy wants to look at it that way. But this is a Kerry team who could potentially, set up their own dynasty as well, Arthur, if they win. That's the intriguing thing about this narrative.
Don't think so.
You don't think so? Don't think there's a few All-Irelands in this team?
There might be, but not like that.
This won't be the David Clifford era?
No way they're doing like 4 or 5 in a row, anything approaching that. Not a chance.
Dublin won 8 in 10 years. I don't see anything like
No.
that. No, that's not coming. Which is good for the championship because it does feel like it might be a bit more open over the next decade.
But it is that open, really. I did wonder about this when the semi-finals finished, which is we sat in these very chairs many times this year and went, this is the most open All-Ireland championship we've had in over a decade. It's going to be someone new potentially winning, and there's 5 or 6 teams who could win. And here we are with the 2 old favourites in the final again.
I know. That's why it's a little bit, it's not disappointing. Like, the game will be class and everything about it will be great, and it'll be great watch and it'll be great spectacle, and everything about the day. Croke Park will look brilliant. And I think in a way, funnily enough, the last weekend with the hurling, while it was like, I found it brilliant personally, obviously with a personal interest there, but it didn't quite still feel like an All-Ireland final for whatever kind of reason. I don't know, was that the weather? I wouldn't get so caught up with the dates thing. I think that's kind of relative anyway. It doesn't really matter when, but maybe it was the weather, or maybe it was the 2 teams. I don't know what it was, but it just didn't have the exact 10 out of 10 this is massive feel to it. Probably in a similar way to some of those Kilkenny finals during their run. Similarly, there was kind
where it felt like they were about to go and collect Liam, and
almost, a little bit.
Yeah.
But this game, I suppose, has the luxury of it'll never feel like that. It's never going to feel like formality, and that's the only. You're almost glad these 2 teams got here, because if it was just one of them, I think, and no disrespect again to Galway from last year, and they obviously ran Kerry quite close.
But if it was Derry or Monaghan in the final, you'd expect one of the 2 big 2 to win.
Yeah, I don't think it would have at all the same appeal. You'd be kind of hoping for a surprise, which is great if it happens, but I suppose more often than not doesn't. So I don't know.
It's the dream for the new.
It's hard to know. It is hard to know what you want.
Amory, League of Ireland teams involved in Europe not going Shamrock Rovers' way against Ferencváros.
Yeah, that's right. 3 League of Ireland teams are in second round qualifying action for the Europa Conference League tonight. And Shamrock Rovers, as you say, this is really not going to plan. They trail Ferencváros 3-0 in Hungary, where there isn't even an hour on the clock. So you could imagine this could get even worse for Stephen Bradley's side. Elsewhere, then in Iceland, it's Dundalk taking on KA with 13 minutes gone there, still scoreless. And at 7:45 tonight, Derry City have home advantage for the first leg of their tie with Coops of Finland. So Rovers 3-0, Dundalk scoreless.
Particularly disappointing for Shamrock Rovers on the back of going out of the Cup at the weekend just gone by as well. At the Women's World Cup, conventional wisdom, Emery, was Australia have started off very well against the Republic of Ireland. This should put them in a strong position to qualify, and now they face an uphill task to get out of the group.
Nigeria came from behind to beat FIFA Women's World Cup co-hosts Australia in their second Group B match today. The African side therefore topped the group ahead of Canada with more goals scored. On Monday, Ireland play Nigeria while Australia take on Canada. So all 3 of those sides, apart from Ireland, can still make the last 16. Elsewhere then today, Portugal kept their hopes of a place in the next round alive. That was thanks to a 2-0 win over Vietnam in Group E. And in the same group, the United States and the Netherlands played out a 1-1 draw.
You know, Arthur, every time we're hearing this, it's expectations being realigned. So start of the tournament, it was Canada might be a little bit more difficult than Australia, but it's hard to play the co-hosts in the first game. Then Canada weren't great against Nigeria, and the argument was, maybe we're playing Canada at a good time. And now it's, well, Nigeria look like they're pretty good as well.
Nigeria, looking out of this group with anything. Yeah, it looked quite good today. I only saw no snippets of it when I was coming into work, but it definitely felt. It must be very strange now for kind of Australian fans, particularly, because there was. I know even with the pre-match shots we were having here, and especially with Sinead and Kathleen who were out there, that there was kind of a half hope that Australia would go deep and would really kind of take over, but. I suppose after today you wouldn't be putting much faith in them with that.
No, I don't think so. I think you put Canada, Nigeria as favourites to qualify now. And the other question is, Amory, what does Vera Pauw do at this stage? Because there are players there now, because there was only the 2 changes made to the starting lineup ahead of the game against Canada. There's plenty of players who haven't got game time during the World Cup or significant game time. Do you give a chance to the players who haven't played so far, or do you go with a strong 11 to finish out the tournament?
I don't know. It's really hard. There's arguments for both sides, because to go to a World Cup and to not play, it would be so disappointing for those players on the fringes of the squad. But then also, this Ireland team needs to finish on a high. And is it one win in their last 6 games?
So they beat Zambia in the warm-up game. And I think they've only scored 2 goals even in the period if you go back to the 2 games in the USA.
So a positive obviously would be good. So it's up to Vera Pauw now to weigh the pros and the cons of that. I don't know. I honestly think it's about a 50-50 shout.
What do you think, Arthur? Maybe a win or a draw would be more important than giving game time, but it'd be horrible to travel and not get on the pitch or not get more than a few minutes.
Yeah, you can't be too... Like, at the same... yeah. So, like, Nigeria will be going all guns blazing for that.
Try and win the group,
so, yeah. They're not going to be messing around. I don't know, is it necessarily in the best interest of the thing to be... on any sort of sentimental type level to be picking a team on the back of that. And obviously all the people there she believes are good enough to be there, so I mean it checks out. You might play someone that wouldn't get playing normally, but I think you got to go and try and win it. You have to try and win it. It still would be a landmark, in the same way that Katie McCabe's goal last night will forever be the first goal Ireland got. You know, you want to get that first win. You may as well get it now than trying to get it 4 years from now. I just think I don't think there'll be any sort of compromise on that. Yeah. I think they'll want desperately to win.
Players as well have spoken about how they feel that they are deservedly at this level, that they've taken a step up now, and when you're playing in that elite, there isn't room for sentimentality. So I suppose it will be understood in that regard. But it's hard on the players who go and don't get a look in.
Big time. Golf, Stephanie Meadow, how's she getting on?
Stephanie Meadow is 5 shots off the lead after a 2 under par round of 69 at the Evian Championship in France today. South African Paula Retto and England's Melissa Reid shared the lead on 7 under par. Leona Maguire is 1 under after today. This, of course, one of the Ladies Tour's majors.
Meanwhile, the RFU deciding having an Englishman in charge of the men's rugby team has gone reasonably well. So let's try a similar path for the women's team. Scott
Beamond has been appointed head coach of the Ireland women's 15s team. The 44-year-old Englishman has signed a 3-year contract with the IRFU. The former Harlequins, Leicester and Bath scrum half takes over the role from Greg McWilliams, who left after 18 months in charge. That was following this year's Six Nations. Beamond has been part of the England's women's setup since 2015, and he comes into the role with a wealth of experience. He helped them to 6 Six Nations titles, and they also reached 2 World Cup finals.
If you are just joining us, Tommy Rooney has been going to Kerry to speak to the camp in the Kingdom, and Ash O'Reilly went to talk to the Dublin camp ahead of this weekend. So if you're looking for preview material, plenty of it in the OTB GEA podcast stream. If you want to watch those videos from during the week, and Shane Hannon's been going around talking to both camps as well, you can pick it all up on our YouTube currently. One of the interviewees, Anne-Marie, you mentioned at the top of the show, Korma Costello, has been chatting to Ash ahead of Sunday.
Yeah, Dublin forward Korma Costello has described Stephen Cluxton as both a leader and an inspiration. The 41-year-old Parnell's man will start in Sunday's All-Ireland Senior Football Championship final against Kerry. That's after returning to the setup in the spring following a 2-year absence. Cluxton already has 8 All-Irelands to his name, as well as 17 Leinster titles and 6 All-Stars. Looking ahead to Sunday with Aisling, Costello explained what kind of a figure like him brings to a setup.
You take Stephen Cluxton any day of the week, you know, to be part of your dressing room. The level of experience he brings, the level of leadership he brings, it can only rub off on everyone. So we welcome him back with open arms, and it's great having him back in and around the group.
When you mention he's a leader, does he talk in the dressing room? Is he that type of player?
Yeah, he does. Yeah, you know, I wouldn't say there's just one person who kind of takes that kind of vocal leadership capacity, but no, he does. Yeah, he talks, but as well as actions, like you would have been well documented before, like the level of commitment he puts into every single session, and it can only rub off on you. But he's always there for advice, and look, he's been there, he's seen it all, so he's someone that definitely you could go to, and if you had an issue or if you wanted some bit of inspiration or advice. Yeah.
Yeah, Costello's been excellent for Dublin throughout the year as well, set to start this weekend's All-Ireland final. Anne-Marie, Jordan Henderson's move to Saudi Arabia is now finally complete.
Liverpool have confirmed the departure of captain Jordan Henderson to Saudi Arabian club Al Ettifaq. The 33-year-old has moved in a deal worth €14 million plus add-ons. Liverpool LGBTQ plus supporter group Cop Outs have expressed disappointment with the move to a nation where LGBTQ plus people are oppressed. Henderson had been a prominent ally of the movement in the past.
Yeah, I mean, Arthur Cop-Outs were talking about this today, and they said at this stage he's no longer an ally of theirs, and they've questioned whether he ever was. Thomas Hitzlberger, who's now openly gay, former Premier League footballer, people remember him playing with Aston Villa particularly, has been incredibly critical of Jordan Henderson. I think the criticism of this is probably going to be particularly strong because of how strong Henderson's views were before this.
Yeah, definitely. It'll be interesting. I presume at some point he will publicly address it. He'll have to before he tries to reintegrate back in, I suppose. Whenever he's finished there and he has to come back towards the UK, he'll have to address it at some point or other. I don't know what possible reasons he will offer. I think overall the situation on his behalf is pretty pathetic. It's just inexcusable, really. I mean, it's not like whatever about, and I don't think just for him. I think for sort of like anyone making that type of decision to do what he's doing and go where he's going for what appears purely monetary reasons. It's just unforgivable. It's a really shoddy way for him to leave a club where you're a Liverpool supporter, you'll know more than me, where he was greatly respected, had achieved everything. And I think it was Gareth Roberts from the Anfield Rap, I saw tweeting about it, kind of making almost a list of Henderson's achievements and contribution to the club and how he's leaving, and it's like almost just with a shrug, kind of like, yeah, sure, that's what you want to go and do, and how like it shouldn't really be that way, and it's just pretty sad. Like, it's, as I know, like we obviously spoke to Martin Lipton before coming on, and he kind of highlighted the reality of what it would be like to be offered that kind of money, but I mean, it's not.
The only reason I can imagine he would give if he is forced to address it would be the chance to link back up with Gerrard. No, and I know that's not true. That's not true. It's because of money he's going. But that's the only reason I can imagine he'd come out and think would be a good idea to put out there.
I wonder how Jordan Henderson feels when he watches the video that Al Ettifaq put up earlier on, where he's wearing the rainbow armband, and what they do is they put a block over it and grayscale it out, and it's done as if it looks like a visual reason for do so, but it's clearly because a lot of the shots of Jordan Henderson in recent times as Liverpool captain had a rainbow armband, and in a country where being homosexual is illegal, Al Ettifaq were not going to have a rainbow armband on an announcement video, even if it's the most exciting sign they've ever made. So that just goes to show he is already part of a message, and he is being used as a message even before he actually kicks a ball for the club, in essence.
It's such a shame.
Bizarre to think Liverpool's two most previous captains are in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
Long-term captains, both won the Champions League, one won the Premier League, had huge roles, and that's where they are. It's grim, but it's where we are.
It really is, though. It really is bad. Like, especially for someone like, again, I've no link whatsoever to Liverpool, but like the last number of years, you can't but be struck that on a personnel level, the way they've kind of behaved and the sort of general message and communal importance in the club, like from Klopp down, say, at that level. Beyond that, everything's just business. It makes no difference where you are. But he's just been so central to that, and like, as you're saying, like,
and actively chose to do so. This wasn't
absolutely,
something he was backed into doing.
And with England, like, completely kind of part of that thing.
Leadership as well during COVID with the other captains, yeah.
But this is just a complete now slap in the face of that. And like, again, I can't possibly think of one, but perhaps he has another reason beyond it that he's thinking. You kind of come back and it sounds grubby to suggest that it's just plainly what it is.
Well, but he can't say he's gone over there hoping to,
like, he's not going for the betterment of his career. Like, it's complete nonsense, and it's just on a really human level. It's really, really bleak. Because there was another great piece as well about a week or so ago from Caoimhe O'Neill in The Athletic, who I think I certainly covers Liverpool. I'm not sure a supporter or not, like, but covers Liverpool, and again kind of broke down what it means to people who have invested an awful lot of interest and time and support in him, to go and do this. And it's like, it's such a really shameful ending.
Mark Travers on the move as well, Emery.
That is correct. Stoke City have confirmed the signing of Mark Travers from Bournemouth. The Republic of Ireland goalkeeper joins on a season-long loan. Stoke begin their championship campaign against Rotherham on the 5th of August. Meanwhile, St Pat striker Owen Doyle has retired with immediate effect. A statement from the 35-year-old today said it was for personal reasons. Doyle was an Ireland under-15 international and played with a number of League of Ireland clubs when he was younger. He then had a spell at Hibs in Scotland, as well as a number of clubs in the Championship and lower leagues. He joined Pats from Bolton in January of last year, making 42 appearances last season and then 21 this season. In that statement today, he thanked everyone at the club, saying he had a wonderful 18 months and leaves Inchicore with some great memories.
Before we finish up, two other stories as well, Emery. Good day in the pool for Mona McSharry, not quite in the medals, but a good day. And Ireland are heading to the T20 Cricket World Cup.
Mona McSharry finished in 7th place in the 200 metre breaststroke semi-final today at the World Championships in Japan. The Sligo swimmers' time of 2 minutes 26.27 seconds, though, wasn't quick enough to make the final. However, very good day for the Irish men's cricketers as they've qualified for the T20 World Cup. Today's qualifier against Germany was abandoned due to rain, but they had already secured 4 wins in qualifying. So we're going to the T20 World Cup.
Did I say on Tuesday I hate rain deciding sporting fixtures? I relent entirely. Rain is great. It has sent Ireland to the T20 World Cup. Amory, thanks a million.
Thanks,
Arthur as well.
Thanks,
Arthur
Will.
back was a bit later on. Time for the cash machine.
Your chance to win big.
News Talk's Summer Cash Machine.
Mark MacDonald became our second winner of this week when we called him when he was at work this Thursday. The good news is that we've reloaded the cash machine ahead of the weekend and we are